Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rosie and Bill show. Well, actually, it hasn't been the Rosie and Bill show for the past few months. And we're here today to kind of talk about that, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, some changes have happened in my life, which has unfortunately derailed my participation in the Rosie and Bill show. But I just don't want to just disappear. So we wanted to come on and make sure everybody knew that kind of I'm handing the reins over to Bill, and he's going to be driving the stagecoach solo with some occasional appearances, hopefully, from
That'd be
yours
nice.
truly.
Yeah, that'd be nice. How about that?
Yeah,
And no matter where you are, we've got Zoom.
we do.
We just happen to be in the same place right now, which is pretty cool. We're not in like two boxes on the computer screen. That's pretty awesome too.
Well, actually, saying that, I will say I would say most of my favorite episodes or moments on the show is when we're doing things live,
Oh yeah.
not on Zoom. Although we have had amazing, amazing experiences on Zoom. We've gotten to interview people who we would never have met ever. That opportunity would not have presented itself.
Yeah.
And I guess in part we do have the pandemic to thank for it, even though there was a lot of tough things about the pandemic.
Don't get me started. Yeah, we were not essential. We had to close our studio for almost 2 years, but there's always a bright side if you look for it. And you're right, it was Zoom. And that literally opened up the world.
It did.
To us. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we also appreciate our first and longest running sponsor of the show, Tom and his team of insurance professionals at the Malin Agency. If world-class customer service and doing business with someone you can trust is important to you, give Tom and his team a call today for all your insurance needs. From Sweden to Australia to Canada to, I know I'm missing, to Germany.
Germany, yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
To California.
And Nashville.
Nashville.
A lot in
Listen, Nashville, like I think we're honorary Tennesseans.
Yes.
Is that a word? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right?
What do y'all think? Could have said, what do you guys think?
What do you, well, yeah, see, that's the thing. Then we're going to have some Southerners come on and try and do a Delco accent.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, don't get me started on Delco. But, I really appreciate having this opportunity to have this conversation like we're having right now, partner, because man, I just said before we hit the record button, where did the time go? Rosie joined me in December of 2017 as a guest, and the numbers were off the charts on Facebook Live. And then we
were yippity yapping it up.
Yeah.
And haven't stopped since.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in February, we launched our first episode right on the heels of the Eagles Super Bowl victory.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rosie.
And I'm Bill.
Welcome to the Rosie and Bill show. Yeah. All right.
And we recorded and released our first Eagles parody tribute song, which did incredibly well on social media, Power of Doug. Thank you all for your support with that. And it just all kind of went from there.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of a cool way to kick it off. Like, well, think about this. That's kind of an interesting point because we started in a Super Bowl year, and I'm kind of flying the coop in another Super Bowl year win.
Fly, Rosie, fly.
Fly, Rosie, fly.
Yeah. Well, at least we won on both ends.
Bill, I'm sad though, too. And I know you are too. This is not easy.
No.
This is not easy. And it's not really a decision that it was like, hey, I'm going to stop doing the show. It was just like life was like, no, you need more hours in the day to be able to do the show. And it was becoming very, very difficult.
Yeah. And, to Rosie's credit, there's a lot of things she's been balancing, a lot of things she's been doing. And the one thing that we've taken pride in since we started, whether it was focusing on people in the local area doing good things or the evolution into an entertainment format, we did our homework. We took a lot of pride in knowing our guests ahead of time as much as we could. And in many cases, we did know a lot about them, but there's a lot of homework, there's a lot of work, and that's before we have the conversation. The real work happens after the conversation with the editing and putting things together. So there's a lot. It's a lot of time. It's a labor of love for sure. And it's one that, I was blown away when, because I had been doing a little something before Rosie came on board. And, nowhere to the level of what we've reached over these years. And it's not going to be the same with just me. But as Rosie said, these last couple of months, I've done my best to kind of keep the show going, and it's been great, and just some awesome guests. And we already have a lot of guests lined up in the weeks and months to come. We're looking at tweaking the format just a little bit.
Yeah, tell me about that. What's the idea?
Well,
Like before it was, well, the evolution
yeah,
started out as good people doing good things. We wanted to be a source of positivity on social media in a very kind of
negative
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
negative time. And we did.
Mhm.
And we met listen, just because we started, and I just interrupted you. I asked your question. Now I'm answering it. But
That's okay.
I want to say this because we've interviewed a lot of stars since the time that we started. But that does not minimize the value of those guests because they're not, household names, right? And so I want to personally say thank you to all of the people that got us started, that came out and shared their causes and shared their hard work and their ways that they were being of service to their community. And that meant a lot to us. We have met some of the most amazing people. The one thing Bill and I have always said is we have the best guests.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why we are then able to have the best conversations, because it's the people that we're having the conversations with. And the show, whether it was, in the early days, as Rosie was just talking about, or as things evolved and changed, the show's never been about us. It's always been about our guests.
Except tonight.
Yeah, tonight it's about us, and it's mostly about the most talented, most amazing woman on the internet right here. I said it from the beginning. I'll say it now. I'll say it in the future. And that chair and that spot will always be open. I may say that 3 or 4 more times before we're done here. But I believe you asked me about the format, and I said that, the format may be tweaked a little bit. And we've evolved into this sort of mini bio documentary of each of our guests' life, which is great. And some of them have incredible stories to tell.
Yeah.
But we want to try to mix it up a little bit where, we're still going to talk about different aspects of people's lives, but we're just going to have slightly different conversations. We also want to make sure we focus on things that may be coming up, new projects, new songs, new movies, new comedy tours, whatever it is. We're going to continue to focus on that. But we're also moving forward, going to weave in another new twist, an evolution that's happened recently, which is my foray into stand-up comedy. So,
He's a funny guy. Funny guy.
My parents were married 6 times between the two of them. 6. They missed the extra point. Yeah. My dad was my mom's first husband, but he was far from the last. My mom was like the Rocky Balboa of hopeless romantics. Yeah, she was. Like, none of the sequels were as good as the original. No. Each one got progressively worse, and each one brought in less and less money. Yeah. It was like, hey, yo, Adrian, stop changing your last name so much. I couldn't even keep track. At one time, I had to ask the mailman. Yeah, he's also one of her exes. My sit-down routine is evolving.
Has been going on for a long time.
Yes, as she can attest. Yes, there were many, many years that I had a great sit-down routine, and I'm trying to convert it into a stand-up routine. And so there will be a lot more comedians coming on the show, and there may even be more. No, there will be even more of me doing things like that moving forward as well, on location, in different places, just having some fun. So we stick with what you said earlier, being a source of positivity, fun, and hopefully some inspirational content moving forward, just with a few tweaks here and there, just to freshen things up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because when things become too formulaic, that was the word I was looking for earlier that I couldn't come up with. It kind of takes the air out of things sometimes. You were saying how many different ways can I find to ask a certain question? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe it's time to ask a different question. And I think that I've noticed that you have been doing different things, like you said, posting your shorts and your comedy. And definitely check out Bill's comedy when he's doing something at Soul Joel's, or maybe, he's diving into the open mic scene there.
Yeah, no, it's a blast. And we talked earlier about the power of Doug and the songs, and we also had Hurts So Good, which to this day is still our most watched video on Facebook, couple of 100,000 views. Thank you all for that.
Hurts so good. Come on, Jalen, make it hurt so good. Team's playing great, just like we knew that they would, because hurts so good.
But unfortunately, some issues with my throat over the last few years. I really haven't been able to sing. I may be good for one song. But with stand-up, it gives me the opportunity to be behind a mic, to have fun, and make people smile. And man, that's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. And there's the exchange of energy where people laugh at your jokes.
Yeah, I mean, people
Which
have
you
laughed at
didn't
me
really
for
get-
years, but
You didn't really get from
that's true.
That's not true. When something's really funny, I laugh at it.
Both times. She did. She laughed both times. Yeah, no, you did.
I just don't tolerate the silliness.
The
That's
silliness.
not true. That's not true. I like to give you a hard time.
I'm a work in progress. Clearly, I'm a work.
Well,
in
we all
progress.
are.
Yeah, no,
We all are. No, but when Bill started doing this comedy, I was like, I am so jealous. Like, I was studying for a test, and I'm like, I would much rather. I called Bill up. I'm like, hey, I was thinking about that joke that you had.
She did. She
What
helped me out a
about
lot.
this?
Before my first graduation show, that one-eyed dog Cyclops came from her. Yeah. You have to watch my bit on living near a nuclear plant. It's out there, and you'll
It's
hear
out
all
there.
about the.
But anyway, so one of these days, because this whole idea came up, I don't know if you remember, when we were saying, how can we do shorts
Hmm.
and not do everything on Zoom? Because
Right.
it gets kind of two-dimensional
Yeah.
to do things on Zoom all the time, even though we're doing
And even the
things that-
formatting, they'll tell you on social media that formatting is not going to work. They
Right.
want the,
live stuff and out there in the world.
but even
stuff.
the format in terms of the
Oh,
widescreen,
the vertical.
yeah,
Yeah,
they want the
Yeah.
vertical on the phone so that
So-
it fills up the phone.
We were talking about it, and I was like, we should both do an open mic night. We should do stand-up
Yeah.
comedy at an open mic, or take a class or something like that. And here it goes. So one of these days, maybe when I'm not so busy, maybe I'll try and write a minute or two.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I had no idea how hard it was.
Oh, yeah.
When I took the first class back in January, and to Rosie's point, it was to maybe have some content for the show, try something fun. I love being on stage. I love being behind a mic. And that first night getting up there, man, it was like, wow, this is just like when I'd be up there singing. The only difference is it's harder, because even with music, when you're singing, sometimes the chords or the progression can help you remember the lyrics, maybe if they're slipping your mind. But when you're up there doing stand-up, it's you and only you, and there's no one else. But that's how it started, and it went from being something to do for some fun and for some content for the show to something I absolutely love. I'm having a blast. I actually took the class twice, and not because I got held back. Those rumors are not true. I took it twice. Just last week, I had the opportunity to open for Jay Black, who was a guest on our show a few weeks back, a great comedian in this area for decades, and be entering a Best of the Burbs comedy competition too.
When is that, Bill?
Thursday, May 29th is the first night I'll be competing, and hopefully it won't be the last.
So, I'm just saying that if this airs, which I believe it will, before
Yeah,
May
it will.
29th, come on out to Soul Joel's.
Yeah, please, in
And
Pottstown.
Bill needs some audience applause and
Yeah.
support to move him to the next round.
Yeah, the audience plays the biggest part in determining who moves forward.
I plan on being there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. And yeah, so again, don't want to get too sidetracked on that, but
If you're funny, I'll
And if I'm not, she'll let me know. That's for sure. The red pen will come out on my notes or whatever. But anyway, no, I want to get back to these last 7, 8 years, partner, because just we'd be remiss if we didn't just talk a little bit about, some of the highlights. We ask our guests all the time to do that. And, looking back, what are you most proud of what we've done?
I'm most proud of the fact that we started in your basement.
Mm.
And as my cousin says, with not even a plant in the background, just a wall. And it's built up to having international guests and Hall of Fame performers and just salt of the earth people trusting us enough to share their stories with us. That's what I'm most proud of.
Yeah, you know what? I think I have to second that and just add, I think we've stayed true to what we set out to do. And I've had some people offer advice over the last few years about how we may be able to jumpstart our reach or get more views or sensationalize things or more drama, whatever. But no, not going to do it. So even moving forward, it's going to be about our guests when we have guests on the show. And I'm excited that, there's been no drop off there. So we've built a lot of great relationships with some amazing, publicists and managers and agents all across the entertainment industry. And we're still lining people up, over the next couple months. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to be proud of. And who'd have thought that first, whatever night of the week it was that we got together in my basement after that Super Bowl win, that we'd have had some of these amazing Hall of Fame level legends and up and coming stars as well.
Yeah, a lot of up and comer. Yeah, for sure. I really didn't know what I was getting into. It just sounded like fun to me.
Yeah.
But you kind of had more of a long-term vision for it, whereas I was just like, yeah, that'll be fun. Let's do that. Let's interview people. That'll be fun. It's creative. We'll get to meet fun people. And I still love that. And I do want to just circle back for a second to say that was a great point. I too am proud of what I would label the integrity that we have kept in the show. I think that's truthful. And we have genuinely been excited about and honored, tried to honor the lives and careers of our guests.
Yeah, and there's no better feedback or no greater compliment than some of the ones we've received from Tony Orlando, T.G. Shepard, Kelly Lang, the late great Bobby Rydell, Frankie Avalon, Mark Farner, Danny Seraphin, like these icons, whether it was on or off camera, some of the feedback that they shared with us about the experience they had. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it and just talking about it.
Well, yeah, and just in general, we've had guests say, hey, I didn't intend to talk about this, but
yeah,
I just, felt safe to talk about it with you guys. And that means more to me than almost everything that happens on the show.
Yeah, and it got to the point, this was what was really cool about it was no longer an interview process. It was a conversation. And we always had notes. We always had some things we wanted to make sure we touched on, especially if there were things our guests were promoting. But man, we just went and no one did it better than this amazing co-host right here, as far as going where the conversation took us and listening. That's the other thing. She would listen, pay attention, and go with it. And we would go in directions and down roads I had no idea we were going to go. That was pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a very nice thing to say. And I think we both did that. And yeah, we did have the other evolution of it was initially I was booking guests once we went to Zoom because I had a lot of friends in the entertainment industry. So I knew that I could get us a bunch of people right away. And then when my mom got sick, that was the end of that. And he took over. And I never really took that back other than helping here and there. So, and that was also with the writing of our questions, so Bill's been shouldering a lot of this burden for a long time, so it's not as much of a shakeup for him to keep going because he's used to this whole process. And you've created great
Just won't look as
relationships.
good, won't look anywhere near as good each week. That's the only downside, so I apologize in advance. But yes, thank you for that because I have built some great
Hey, listen,
relationships.
he gets so many very attractive people commenting.
Some of them are even nice.
So
But
don't
yeah.
let his self-deprecation
Yeah.
fool you. He's going to use that in the stand-up comedy, right? The
Yeah,
self-deprecation.
that's what that woman did on the hood of the car in Delco last week, right? She self-deprecated on the hood of that car.
Nice.
I had to work that one in there. Sorry, I just had to.
Yeah, she deprecated.
Yeah, she did. And you know what? You know what they didn't report on the news, and I don't think it was fair? They never once told everybody that there was a Dallas Cowboys vanity plate on the front of that car. I digress. Where were we?
Oh, well, then it's all fine and dandy.
Pretty much. Yeah.
She shouldn't have her drugstore privileges revoked at all.
No more laxatives. But anyway, before we go any further down that road, yeah, let's just say it depends.
Into that cesspool.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we're in a bad place.
Yeah. And tonight's episode has not been scripted. We have no notes. There's no teleprompter.
And they're
We're
going to
just-
be like, clearly.
We're going where the conversation takes us or where we take it.
For better or for worse.
Yeah.
But no, all right. So I'm just gonna say that I am grateful to have reconnected with you after a long time and to have been on this journey and hopefully still go on the journey, that we can still do things. And I've had experience that I never dreamed of having. We've challenged ourselves, we've stretched things. Like if you had told me that I would be interviewing music legends like at the East Coast Music Hall of Fame and walking in there like, I had every business being back there.
Yeah. And by the end of the night, we did.
You did. I'm grateful to you and your vision and for inviting me in on the ride.
Well, it would have been, there wouldn't have been a ride. It wouldn't have been a Rosie and Bill show without Rosie to the Bill, that's for sure. So all I know is that you inspired me to take things as far as we could take them. And again, I never would have dreamed that we'd have done what we've been able to do, over these last 7 years. Hundreds and hundreds of episodes and clips and everything else, and just experiences that I never thought I would have. The East Coast Music Hall of Fame galas, getting to see so many of our guests perform and chatting with them backstage and hanging out with Tommy James, before his show, and just hearing some of the great stories, and Tammy Pescatelli basically threatening Tom Cotter to come on our show, and he did. Not only Tom, his lovely wife Carrie Louise came on a few weeks after that. So, man, what an evolution it's been.
Yeah.
And also, just real quick, I just want to thank Joel Richardson at Soul Joel's because, we actually had Joel on during the pandemic as one of those people doing great things because it was the only game open basically in the country for comics.
Right.
And we have built that relationship and just watched it grow. And he's just a phenomenal guy with phenomenal things happening for him because of all the great work he's done.
Yeah, people really want to perform there.
Yeah.
He draws in a lot of great people.
Yeah. So I just want to, thank him. And I'm going to stop it there because if I start thanking, trying to thank other people, there's going to be at least 400 to 500, that we leave off. Because there's been that many from not just our guests, but as you mentioned earlier, the publicists, the managers, the agents, the amazing people that I will continue to work with. And did I mention that the chair will always be open, partner?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll take you up on that. I am sure of it.
All right.
Because things aren't going to be, crazy busy forever.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
So at this point, it seems like we're going to transition to the Bill show.
Yeah, I'm looking into those options right now for naming, and there are some things there with social media and whatnot I have to be careful of, but it does look like going from the Rosie and Bill show to the Bill show is potentially doable. So I'm most likely going to do that, but it will be like on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. My goal is to keep everything housed where it's at. So no matter how you look for it, it'll be there. And all those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes aren't going to go anywhere. So that's part of the transition over these. That's probably going to be the least fun of everything that I have to do.
Of course.
But I just want to make sure that I keep the integrity of what's there in the past, all the comments, all the shares, all the views. Do not want to lose any of those. So I will do whatever I can to keep the name as true as possible, but whatever it takes to keep the name as such that I can keep the pages and the formats as they are. But most likely, we could be looking at the Bill show real soon.
Yeah, and it will be as great as ever. And I just want to just wrap this up by saying thank you to everyone who has invited us on their computer screen.
Yeah.
Or into their living rooms on the YouTube channel. And to all of our guests who, yes, they had things to promote, but they also shared their lives with us. And we really, really value that and appreciate that. I'm so excited about the people we've had the privilege to meet and speak to and cultivate relationships with. And of course, Bill, I want to thank you for everything. And we will be friends forever. You know that. So,
Amen to that, sister.
Yeah. So thanks for calling me up and saying, hey, I want you on the show.
Well, thanks for taking me up on it and driving over there on that snowy December night in 2017.
Yeah. So should we end it the way we used to end it?
Oh my God, it's been a while. Yeah, I guess I'll start. Huh?
Yeah.
So I'll start with what I used to say back in the basement. I used to say, make a difference for someone every day and make every day a great day.
Be kind to yourself. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, partner.
Aw.
You know, the greatest thing about you and Bill is that you do something I haven't even learned to do yet. You're the best listeners I've ever spoken to. You sat and you listened to me. And as an interviewer, that's the most difficult thing to learn. I haven't learned that yet. But you do it in a quality way, both of you. Thank you for your patience with me, and thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's our pleasure. God bless you.
Thank you, Tony. And my grandmother would be so proud of what you just said. She always told me I had 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I should listen twice as much as I talk.
She was right. She was right. She was right. That's the hardest thing to learn when you're doing an interview, and you've done it. This is one of the best ones I've ever done. Good luck with your podcast. I hope everybody watches you. I know they will, because I just sense what you're about.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Thank you so much, folks. Tony Orlando, we will see you next week.
I appreciate your kind words, Bill. And Rosie, I appreciate your conjecture and where you're at spiritually, what you like to talk about. And I just want to encourage you guys to follow your hearts. You got good hearts. I just, I could be in a room with you guys and we would figure some shit out.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You two are a delight to talk with. I mean, you really are. You just, I love the fact that you don't interview. You just have a conversation, and you've mastered the art of conversation.
Thank
And,
you guys for having us. It's so
Yeah,
sweet.
thank you so much. We enjoyed ourselves so much.
We appreciate
There's no greater compliment you could give us, TG and Kelly. Thank you both so much for that. We really appreciate it. That means a lot. This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty & Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.